Hello everyone, and welcome to the review show of the Games Now Online Jam 4 in its kind of order number. We are back. This is Games Now. My name is Anna-Kaisa Kultima, and together with me are my dear hosts Solip and Ville. How are you guys doing?
Good, good.
Good, yeah.
I see some sunlight beaming towards Ville at the moment.
Yeah.
I guess the weather there is really good.
It's a beam of hope.
Yeah, it's sunny. I always get the evening sunlight here, so yeah.
That's so wonderful and nice. Also, I can see that Ville is wearing a t-shirt from a game jam, so that's also very fitting. But yeah, Solip, what were you saying?
Oh, just joking around, you know, very sunny, like every day in Finland.
Yeah, like every day in Finland. So this is a game jam run by Games Now lecture series by Aalto University, but also in collaboration with our other course called Quantum Games. And hence the topic of the jam has been Inside a Quantum Computer, which is also a theme for the course called Quantum Games. So for the past week, we've had jammers participating to almost a week-long jam, making games that go with this theme. And we had last week James Wootton from IBM to kind of explain us what quantum games could be with this theme when someone is inside a quantum computer, I guess, or how a game could be a quantum computer game. That was a very nice set of categories that we got to learn from Dr. Wootton. But today, I actually, first of all, I would kind of let's look at the schedule. So we've had the kickoff last week. Yesterday there was a submission deadline for the jam games, and that was in itch.io. And also we have now review session. Solip, are you testing if the audio works?
Yes, there was a comment directly messaged to me that Anna-Kaisa's voice is a bit lower than my mic, so apparently my voice is super loud.
I guess I can adjust it here, so hopefully it's better now. So let's see it from the chat if it got better at this point. So it should be fine. But thanks for that notice. I try to also get a bit closer to my mic, I guess. But yeah, so here are the schedule things that we had for the jam. And we got, let's see. This is the amount of games that we got. We got 8 games submitted for the jam. One thing to remind is that we have this cool sticker that we are sending to those brave ones that stuck to the end. I don't know if it gets...
Can you also show the other one, the square one?
Oh, that's actually not for this jam. So you have to be part of the course.
Okay, not revealing that one. But I can show it.
I can.
Right.
Now that you kind of told that to everyone, we do have a cool
did
sticker.
I just spoiled everyone? Oh no.
We have another cool sticker, which is quite geeky. It says like this. So it's also holographic, or
it's a mirror image now.
So the circular one for our jammers, and the square one for those who are gonna attending the Quantum's Game Now course, I guess.
Well, there might be some special reasons that people get the other sticker as well, but yeah, that's what's happening. But let's not keep our guests in suspense, because we do have a surprise visitor also for the review show. So for the review show that we do is that we go through the jam games and talk about it, how they are, how they fit to the categories, how they kind of fit to the theme, and what do we think about them. It's gonna be quite fun to also review our own games, I guess. Ville, you ready for that?
Not really, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, let's jump into showing our IBM guests of honor. So here we go. Hello, Marcel and James.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. And hopefully my audio isn't at a weird level. But yeah, everything's fine for me. And I don't know what to say now. I've got to the point of being able to say something.
Yes, well, that is perfectly enough. What you said. Let's hear a couple of words similar to the point from Marcel. So how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Glad to be here, and yeah, it was a joy to take a look at all these games and seeing how some other people interpret quantums and games and
yeah. So we haven't seen you, Marcel, in the Games Now lecture series before. So maybe a couple of words about who you are and where are you now? What do you do? Why are you here? Why do you exist? I guess.
I'm from Zurich and I work together with James. I'm also working at IBM Research in Zurich. And in the past, I was a Unity programmer and now doing a lot of quantum things and also focusing on quantum games. And that's why I'm also interested to see these game jam entries. Yeah.
And you're also part of the mentoring group at the Quantum Games course, so I'm really happy to have you with us. James, do you want to kind of reiterate who you are? Do you still remember yourself?
I never know who I am, but I work at IBM, and once many years ago I was in Arosa in Switzerland, the birthplace of quantum mechanics, where Schrödinger realized the wave function, and I had my own realization that we should use games to try and help people to get involved in quantum computing. So I work on quantum computing, but also things related to games, including looking into procedural generation or providing people with easy ways to make games to get a first taste of quantum computing.
That's such a wonderful intro. I really have to come up with my own similar one.
Origin story.
I don't know who to refer to, but Schrödinger is obviously a powerful character to include in your own bio. That's perfect. Yeah. So I guess you said that making games or game making with quantum computer easy, but it's still not like super approachable. And I guess that it's still a bit scary also to jam with this topic. But let's see how the games ended up being. But yeah, I'm very happy to have you here, and you all been playing the games and checking out them. So we'll see what the jam has been eaten in a sense. All right. Mm-hmm. Any kind of famous last words before we dive into the world of the Games Now Online Jam number 4? Are you looking forward to this?
I'm good to dive. Yep.
All the swimming gears are here. Good. All right. So so let me kind of give everybody a bigger image of all the games. So this is the 8 games that we created or got as a submission during this week. They are called Quantum Heist, Kubitomoto, and then I have to look into a little bit closer, the Lemmings Condensate, Quantum Something Something Gaiden, Don't Let Them Touch Your Qubits, Ryoshiban Cute Blur, which is apparently, it's not a game, it's a tool, and then Quantum Cube. So these are the 8 games that got submitted to our jam. And is there one of these that we would like to start with? James or Marcel? You could decide.
Yeah, well, it's hard to know where to start, but there's a few different groups that they kind of naturally fall into. The first 2 are both card games, and then the Blur one is a tool rather than a game. So maybe to get those exceptions to the rule out of the way. Out of the way makes it sound dismissive, but maybe to look at those first. So maybe the cute Blur.
Cute Blur first. So it's just a couple of sentences. I kind of forgot to ask this, but if you could kind of also remind us what were the categories that you presented last week about the quantum games.
Yeah, so there were, I took some examples of quantum games and split them into a few categories. Each game was in 2 categories because they were kind of orthogonal. So one was how they're implemented. So what we could try, quantum computers are computers, so we can try to make a quantum computer game that runs on a quantum computer. That's quite an extreme example of a quantum game, but it's something that some people have looked into. Also, quantum computers have software that we use to run them, and we can use the ideas of quantum software in a game. So implementing it with quantum software is another category, but a much more broad and open category is just to take inspiration from quantum in a game. And also in terms of the purpose, it could be to show off what quantum can do, or it could be to educate people about what the limitations are in quantum computation, or you could just use it as a random number generator. So those are the three sort of purposes that there could be. So that's how I'll be categorizing things as I go through them.
So once we look at the games, maybe a couple of words always, like which categories would you drop these games into would be lovely. Mm-hmm. So let's start with the tool.
Yeah. Ooh. So the Cube Blur, it has a few screenshots, but I can't run it on my own machine because I don't have a Windows machine. But I know what's going on because this is based on a tool called Quantum Blur, which is something that I developed, so I can instantly recognize myself what's going on. What has been done here is to turn it into a webcam filter. So you can take images from a webcam and you apply these quantum interference effects to get a quantum interference effecty version of what's on the webcam. So it's using quantum software, and it's showing you what can be done with quantum computers. As for showing off what it looks like, that's not. Maybe someone else has an ability to show some images.
I'm sharing all the kind of games now. I'm gonna zoom into it. Let's try.
Can somebody on this guest or host able to run the game and share the screen right now? I am using Mac at the moment, and then this one doesn't run on Mac.
I tried it, but it doesn't really work when I share the camera with another tool, because then it's locked.
We can look at the image. The image is now on the screen, so it's I guess the image that we see on the screen on Twitch is now also a blurred image from that tool. Mm-hmm. So, like, is there something else to say about this? Like, can this be used in a game somewhere, or like?
Well, the blur effect itself has been used for terrain generation in some games, but this is quite an interesting way, making it much more personal, because you take an image of yourself and it's live, and you have to wait a few seconds for it to generate, but it shows you this blurred image, and you can see the interface from what's on the screenshots. You take a picture, you choose a strength of the blur effect, and depending on what you choose, it gives you a different strength. So I assume that this is either a picture of a triceratops or a rhinoceros. That was the base image here, and you can see how it's been affected.
Yeah. All right. So I guess there is not much to play with this because we can't run it, and we can just look at the image. But at least, that's a good submission for Jam as well, to give a tool, not necessarily a game. But we could go then to the maybe
in the future we will see that as a part of some game or something. Maybe the creator will use it in another Jam game.
I am also thinking so that it might happen. Knowing the person that submitted that, I can see that it's going to be used somewhere. Or maybe not. Maybe we're wrong. Who knows?
Yeah, but I think like playing around with tools like this, it's also important for game development and jamming and stuff like that. Like finding what you could do and getting inspiration out of that.
Getting ready for another jam where you can use it.
Yeah.
It was also quite interesting to see this tool Quantum Blur in some other use, because like Instagram filters and all this stuff is really popular. So it's kind of something like that, but with more quantum effect. And in the chat, people say that guess the person behind the blur. Yeah, some kind of game like that could be interesting, because you can guess what the image behind is, but it still looks quite strange.
Yeah.
We actually have the creator in the chat, so someone is saying that someone is chatting, so maybe we can get a couple of more comments on whether this will be used in a future game. Looking forward to that comment, Samuli.
And thanks for using quantum blur.
Indeed. So maybe
it has been used.
Yeah. So that was the purpose of the whole thing, is for someone to use it.
And it's a picture of rubber duck.
So someone is saying you are correct. Its name is debug. It's my debugging rubber duck replacement. Okay. Great. So should we move on to the board games then? The card games, actually.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So
which one first?
That's what I was just wondering. I should flip a quantum coin and decide. Well, at least on my screen, Quantum Heist is the one towards the left, and left to right is how people do things, isn't it? So,
all right, so I have the image on the screen,
least.
And if you want to share something on a screen, that's also possible. But now we have the image of it.
Yeah. So there's things that can be downloaded here, and there's, well, maybe I could, because I've got on my screen, I've got some of the images. Maybe I'll share.
Share it, yeah. Thank you.
And okay, share. Have I got the right screen? Yes, I have.
Yeah,
correct.
So we have the various cards, and you can see the definite inspiration from the quantum mechanics in that there is a cat, there is some quantum notation on this one down here, and so there's even more cats, and it seems that so you are moving through a quantum city, and it's kind of, well, you could even see on my T-shirt that there's an image that is very much like the image on the screen now. So this is a representation of a dilution refrigerator, and it is not the last representation of a dilution refrigerator that we will see today. So in the theme of being inside a quantum computer, then you are invited to craft the story in this game, which is inside a quantum computer. So I had to look through the rules. So there's some text on screen. And it seems like it's a game where you use the cards as a seed to inventing some stories. And I can foresee that possibly this could be something used as like an idea such as this, where you're playing a game and crafting a story as you go along. You could make something along these lines as a sort of educational experience where a person who knows about quantum mechanics is being the game's master and is helping everyone else learn about quantum computing while having fun playing the game. But I haven't been able to play it, so I can't say too much about actual gameplay. But all of the design and the idea behind it, I like very much.
Yeah, it's very difficult for jam games when there is a card game and there's no video, for instance, to kind of evaluate, because and in the times of COVID, it's difficult to find playmates, I guess, to test the game. But I also like the idea, and I'm looking forward to test it a bit more. And if the creator is here in the chat, maybe can explain a bit more. Is there going to be further development of this?
At least the visuals are very nice. I like the colors
nice,
and everything. Simplicity of them.
But James and Marcel, is the cat like reoccurring theme in everything that you... Like if there's a hackathon or if there's an event or visualization, is the cat always there?
Yes, the cats come up a lot.
So maybe we need another thought experiment for Quantum to have another character that would be like, I don't know, a zebra? Would that
Pikachu or...
a A rat?
Mario or something from the game. Right?
Well, there's often Alice and Bob, which are because they're A and B, they're kind of used as two characters when you're talking about quantum communication protocols. So Alice and Bob are two other characters, Alice, Bob, and the cat. The most
Bob,
frequently occurring characters.
Like a book name.
Sounds like a kid's, like children's book. Yeah.
And sometimes there's Eve if we need some evil villain. But yeah. But I was really surprised to see a kind of this story game made out of with quantum, because it's really not what I would have thought from the team. But I think these kind of games are also hard to test unless you have a group which likes to play these story-focused games, because I think you need to really get into this kind of thing to get a good story out of it. But it's one really interesting way to look at it.
This reminds me of the Rory Story Cubes, which is like a popular toy for or making stories with dice. It has like dice with different images on the sides, and then you come up with the stories. So it's quite a great bestseller, to be honest. So people like telling stories with games. So I think this has a great potential to become something that would be used in classrooms, for instance, as you said, James. And I think that one important task for us quantum games people for the next decade is to make it more approachable. So anything that is less technical, I think it's very valuable in this field.
Yeah.
So that's at least one thing. And the images are very kind of they have this quantum feel in a sense that it has this sci-fi sense a bit. Like how much do you guys see these kind of sci-fi themes coming up in the different events? Because it is very sci-fi to do something quantum computer, even though it's very real at the moment. It's very realistic. So
quantum is the magic of sci-fi. Every sci-fi needs to include a quantum, even if it's just using it as a buzzword. So there's this inherent link between sci-fi and quantum. People want naturally to relate them. It goes together like quantum and cats.
Yeah. So I just wonder if you guys ever have drinking game at someone's house, watching sci-fi movies and getting shot whenever there is a quantum mentioned.
Well, you get quite drunk.
Yeah, that could have been nice jam game.
Yeah, there's like there is even like it's even research topic. There's quite recently talked on the mailing list of game researchers that there's like rising interest towards drinking games actually.
Yeah.
It's a serious business, yeah. Marcel.
I often just get annoyed when quantum is mentioned because, as James said, most often quantum means just magic, and it's often used for things which are proven that quantum actually can't do, like instant communication or the whole world space and things like that. But yeah, it's nice that it's at least a topic in the movies and so on, but it's often not that serious.
Yeah, it must be painful, like for other professionals also to see like inaccuracies in the or the kind of happening like a returning themes all the time. But that's going to be the issue for next decades as well. So I'm pretty sure.
One of the biggest recent game titles is Quantum Break that is using it, and I was not so much of real quantum, I think.
Yeah, but it was also involved with a physicist that knows these things. So I think that the entertainment business is using mathematicians or scientists or anyone that would be relating to the theme that they're looking at. So it's getting a bit more ambitious these days. So you can't just slap things on movies because it will cause some discussion on forums and different places, and it's easily kind of ridiculed, I guess. So you have to be quite careful what you do as an adaptation these days, because your audience can be actually well versed in physics, for instance. So it's not that easy for anyone that kind of does these topics anymore. Yeah.
Getting more knowledgeable.
Yeah, everybody's.
There was a TV show about quantum computing last year, and the quantum computing community was instantly having opinions on it. But it's not one I was able to watch, so I don't have my own opinions.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's for that card game, and here comes the other one, I guess.
Yeah, so since I've already got the screen share, this is Villa's card game.
Yeah.
And I could instantly see where the inspiration comes. Because if I go to the IBM Quantum Experience, which is where you can find our quantum devices and use them and all of that promotional nonsense, this is what a device looks like. And it's basically these networks where qubits are connected to each other. And then you see in this game, here are what I assume are qubits, and their connections is how you... I suppose Villa can speak to his own game, but that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, the graphics are Anna-Kaisa's, and we did it together, and that was a very fast project put on, so not sure how well does it actually play, but the idea is this is actually a game that should be played in the Zoom meetings, and this kind of a hybrid experience of playing with a physical card, so that people are showing the cards to the camera, and the idea is to build this quantum computer or this network.
Well, I have to say that we don't know what we were doing, basically.
Yeah.
But it's definitely kind of a quantum inspired, because there isn't only the connections with the qubits, but there's also the shapes of the qubits that I got a bit inspired by the different shapes. I didn't know that there's quite many different shapes of the qubits in the actual chip. So you can see the two kind of lines, and then the plus shape, and then this something mon. I can't remember.
The transmon.
Yeah, and then there were some other shapes as well, but I didn't have enough time to interpret it, so I'm not quite sure if the two kind of lines are even correct from the IBM computers. But I had a absolutely wonderful help from one of our mentors from the quantum games course, Jordan, that dug me these images of different chips or different qubits, like how they are kind of shaped in the chip. So it's something that I would like to dig a bit deeper. That how could we educate people that they are real chips and they exist in certain shape, but the constellation thing that we worked with Ville, we don't know yet how it is representing anything actual in the grid-based computers.
Yeah, well, there was the game mechanics are inspired by also the kickoff show and everything. Like you are trying to connect all the people in the Zoom meeting are showing these, and you're trying to connect all of them and trying to pair them, that each one next to each other have to have some similar features like glasses or similar type of hair or things like this. And also I try to implement the noise aspect there, that if there's too much of something happening in the game, that would add too much noise and you will lose some points and this kind of thing. But I think this will need to be reiterated again. But this is something I've been actually trying to think about, like how to turn this quantum noise and this kind of stuff into simple game mechanics. And
yeah, it's a good thing to try to do, because it helps people understand. Noise is one of the big limitations of how quantum computers work at the moment, and finding ways around it is one of the big research problems. So it's good to educate people in this.
Yeah, the thing is, you try to get as many of these qubits working there, but if you have many of them, there's then it's easily comes too much noise there, and it doesn't work that well. So like aiming high, but then there's limitations. This is like a good limitations for game design as well. And
well, I didn't remember to mention on the previous one, but I'm looking at the data of the submission page. So this is from us, Ville and me, and we estimated that we took about 20 hours of doing this. No, 20 hours, this submission deadline. So I know that was not 20 hours. How did we estimate? I can't actually see all the information.
It's around 10 hours, I think.
So it's not really that kind of a long thing. So I have this problem with the submission pages that I can't see the information that we asked for people to submit. So the estimation of development hours I can't find. But Salip, if you're able to help me with this, to try to figure out where in each IO we can find the information of the teams and the credits, because I can't just find it. But anyway, we can tell about this, that we used basically just Illustrator to create the images and Ville's head to create the design, I guess.
Yeah.
That was the tools too, and the team was for 2 people and about 10 hours of development. But let's try to figure out how do we find this information that we ask from all the teams.
I can't see the information just yet either in each IO.
There was some problem on our last jam that when changing the closing dates, it might lose the information.
Oh no, okay. So we're very sorry about that. We try to do at least announcing the submitter. So Alchimere was the creator of the Quantum Heist, the card game that we talked about already. Yeah. And I can't see any other credits of the credit listing of the project, but that's at least. Yes. So those were the card games. I think that we will ask a bit more review later from James about our rules of the game and maybe test it out a bit more. So it's very typical on the jam games that you don't have too much time to test the games, and specifically if it's a card game and you have a very limited time, it takes so much time to test it. So we don't have that in the jam game. But at least that's the first version, and then we can move on from that if we want to develop it further. But James, also one question about the grids of the quantum computer. Is it something that we could make a card game of? That people can move the cards around and make the constellation different?
Well, once a device is fabricated, then the grid that you get is fixed. So, but we also there is the ability to explore different kinds of grid, and that's something that people do in developing the hardware. They look at different kinds of grid and see which is better. So if you want to reflect what's going on inside a quantum computer, then dynamically changing the grid isn't something that actually goes on inside a quantum computer, but it does reflect the sort of design process of coming up with the best quantum hardware.
So it's like imaginary computers of the future that we would create in the grids.
Yeah.
What does the shape of the grid matter in the computer? Is it like?
So it reflects what is essentially the instruction set, which qubits are allowed to talk to each other.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So maybe we will kind of get more inspiration out of that and see where it can go.
Yeah, we need to talk about more.
I think there could be quite interesting game mechanics because depending on your circuit you want to calculate, different architectures might be better or worse. So you could play with more the hardware construction side from the algorithm's perspective instead of the other one. So that could be interesting from my point of view.
Yeah. Well, we could at least try to educate people that quantum computer qubits are in a grid shape in some of the some of the computers, at least. It's not all of them, as we learned last week. But the grid is one way of doing that. So that's one thing. Okay, I start to feel slightly awkward. because it's our game and we're taking too much time for it.
Yeah.
So let's go for the next one.
So let's not then do don't let them touch your qubits, or that just extends your awkwardness. We'll bring you back to being awkward later.
Yeah.
But while I'm screen sharing, I wonder if we could try Quantum Cube. And the reason I say try is because this is such a beautiful game that it is too much for many computers. But so it's a little bit a bit laggy on my one. I'm trying to full screen it. So as you can see, it's very beautiful. And as you walk around, here's a cube with an X, and an X is a particular kind of logic gate that you can get in quantum computers. And here we also see a quantum computer, so it's a rather nice visualization again of a dilution refrigerator. And then if we wander over here, we can also find a qubit. And if we come to this point, we will also find this representation of a single qubit quantum circuit. So this is a visual way of representing what goes on inside a quantum computer. And we can put in a qubit here. There's only one qubit, so there's not much choice. We can put in our gate. But the idea of these puzzles in this game is that you've got a target state. So you can see up there above the door that the target state is for our qubit to be 100% in the state 1 and 0% in the state 0. And so this makes more sense when one knows the kind of outputs you get from quantum computers. But exactly the step that we have to, the quantum program we have to make that happen is one where we do this X. So now let's run that quantum circuit, and everything goes green because it opened up the door to the next room. And then in the next room, there is another one of these puzzles. So this is using, so this is by, is his name Henry?
Yes.
And he was also at the Quantum Wheel Game Jam a few years ago and was one of the people in the team that made Qubit the Barbarian, which is one of my favorite games from that game jam. And it's using micro Qiskit, so it's using quantum software, and it's explicitly getting people to do quantum software in the game. So I think it's some nice puzzles that could be used to educate people. Although I do start seeing now some technical things, like the state vector is not a valid state vector, but it does look like it just came out of micro Qiskit. So there are bugs, and it makes me wonder if they're my bugs. So so the implementation and the concept is really great, but in terms of some of these things, they might need a few tweaks before we ship it to schools everywhere. But this is, a really nice game.
Yeah, it looks super. So Exka Henry is in the chat as well, and it's kind of they're explaining, and it should really run good with Windows build. The WebGL build lags, so you'd have to download it and test it on a computer, and not just to run it on the browser. So there's high resolution light maps for the WebGL that it's too much to handle. Okay, so
but even so, it's playable even in the WebGL, I would say, because it's not a high action game. There's no bullets coming at you.
So X guys also say that those state vectors are just random numbers for different puzzles. So it's
all right.
It's not a bug, I guess.
Okay, yeah. So maybe we could talk to Henry more about that, and especially if he's willing. Oh, I shut down the tab. I shouldn't really. If he's willing to develop it a bit more, then it's a really nice game. So
yeah, looks really great.
You can see that his experience in game development.
I also really liked playing that one, but the state vectors were also a bit confusing me because I guessed these were hints at the puzzles, and so I tried to figure out what the hints mean. But I can see quite potential for this because it reminds me about Portal and
it's very Portal-ish.
Yeah,
I'm just stopping the share now.
Yeah,
and I think it's also inspired by the Cube movies.
Oh, that's true. I didn't get that. Now I get it. Yeah, that is so true. So I was just wondering, where do I get this kind of sense that I need to get out? And I was thinking that Portal is already enough in that, but it's a very Cube movie. The movie is itself. I feel the horror a bit. Of getting trapped there, and maybe there will be other people coming in or other players, and you don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing to have them there.
Yeah, it would be interesting if changing the shape and moving around and.
So X-Guy is kind of is telling us that that Cube movie was the inspiration. So we can see that. Yeah. Have you seen the Cube movie?
No.
No. What? You really have to see it. Solip, have you seen the movie? Cube. No. Okay.
Not yet.
I recommend you looking at
me
that.
too. It was early 2000 or something when it came out.
Yeah. It is something to also think about at the end, that like, what does this all mean? So
almost thinking like it's not that old movie, but wait, it's
wait, we're just old.
Something 20 years old.
So there are other versions of it, like next ones, like sequels, but the first one is obviously the.
Yeah, I never seen it, but it was a big. It was,
So if you further develop this at IBM with Exca, so check the movie first, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's very nice. So you would, James, put that into... So how about all these games so far? In which categories they fit in?
Yeah, so obviously the card games weren't quantum hardware or quantum software because they were card games. But they were things that were inspired by quantum. And I would suppose Quantum Heist could be used. Like I could imagine, I haven't played through it enough to really be able to categorize that exactly, but I could imagine something along these lines being used to teach what quantum computing can do, the capabilities, especially if you've got someone knowledgeable about quantum computing who is leading the play and then can use it as a fun way of doing some teaching about it. And Qubit Motto is maybe teaching about the limitations, because it's a first way of starting to think about the connectivity and noise, as Villa said, in these devices. And in Quantum Cube, it was very much quantum software, so it was using Qiskit, or at least micro Qiskit. So the simulations were running on quantum software, and you were explicitly building quantum software while playing it. So it's very much looking at the capabilities and teaching people through play like that. So Cube Blur was software and the capabilities. I think we mentioned that. That's all of the ones so far.
So those are so we've covered Quantum Heist, Qubit Motto, and then the Quantum Cube. So what is the next one to look at?
So maybe as another play in the browser one that I can reshare my screen is the Ryoshiban, the quantum soccer band. Yeah. So if I
think already the games that we saw, I think it's interesting how the games can bring like a inspired discussion on the quantum computing and have bringing different perspectives. Like even if not simulating something exactly and so on. Yeah,
so they can be used in educational settings, for instance. Okay, so this is called Ryoshiban, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And it is submitted by... So there was a team working on this, I think like 3 people at least.
Yeah, so we've got the credits. I can zoom in there.
1, 2, 3, 4 people. Theta Nord, Tom Railio does. So these are all handles because we have lost the submission info apparently. I didn't know that can happen, but I did change a bit of.
So on the screen share, I think these look like names to me.
Oh, cool! Oh, great! So
they've included that manually.
Great. Miro, Tina, Ture, and Tom were working on this, and yeah. So, what do we kind of
just
think about this? How do you play it?
So select a qubit, and we can already see on the title screen something that looked qubits in the kind of orientation that we get them in IBM's quantum devices. Select a level, 1, and now we have our character that we can move around, again with a nice sci-fi aesthetic, but also it looks inspired by some like the connections that you get between qubits and a quantum computer. And we have to reach the glowing chip, so this is level 1. There's not any challenge to doing that. And now we have qubits that we can push out of the way. And when I was first playing this, I thought, okay, it's a nice looking soccer band where the things you have to push around are qubits, which is all very nice. But that seemed like a glitch, actually. I don't know if we're supposed to tunnel through. Maybe there was a quantum effect there, but I think most. But then once one plays it more, actually, how do I do this one again? I've forgotten. Once one starts playing through this a bit more, there's more interesting game mechanics that come over time. So now I have to push it onto the locks in order to, or the keys, to unlock. And here I've got to unlock the orange one. So I push the qubit over to the orange one. And now I have to unlock the one. So I push the key over to the blue.
Oh, that was the glitch.
Again, there was a glitch. So yeah, it's been running perfectly for me before, but maybe when one tries to have a zoom at the same time and whatnot, one gets quantum errors. So this is also teaching us about those. But then you start getting these more. Sorry.
The chat says the game can be glitchy in full screen, so maybe that's the glitch.
That'll be it.
All right.
Yeah.
That's
I think it's perfect anyway. So qubit now we start to get quantum inspired mechanics. So qubits can be entangled. This is a kind of correlation you get between qubits, and that idea of correlation is now inspiring the game mechanic because the way we push these around is correlated. Now we want to get them out of the way, so let's do that. And now we have another example of them being correlated. And got to keep pushing. Mm-hmm. And then we start seeing that they can also be anti-correlated. So if I push the one on the left up, the one on the right will go down. If I push the one on the right down, the one on the left will go up, which is not so great. So let's do what is great. And then we have levels where you start off with qubits that are not correlated, but you want to make them correlated. And then you can connect those qubits via an entangling gate, which is exactly what you do in a quantum computer. So now with they're anti-correlated, if I push this one left, the other one will go right, and I can complete the level. Now we have an example where it reverses the polarity. So we have two that are correlated, but we go on this other type of quantum gate, which causes them to be anti-correlated. So now if I want the one on the top to keep going over to the right, I have to push the one on the left, the bottom one to the left, and so on and so forth. So that's the first level. It's got quantum-inspired game mechanics and a very quantum-inspired aesthetic. So I think this is a very nice teaming game.
It's very ambitious for a jam game. It has super many levels, and it feels very tutorial. Finished. Yeah,
it's like the quantum version of I've forgotten what it's called. Baba is
you.
You?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, think about like how Babais you could actually be quantum then. But this is very it has a very polished feel.
I also find it very polished and like this. I'm generally very bad at puzzle games, but then the tutorial, the first level was very intuitive as well, and quite surprising like how many levels are there, as we already mentioned.
Was there 69 or something that the developer said they had?
Or 39, I guess.
39.
It's still very big number.
So now we're into ones that I haven't played in my own.
This took me for a long time. This level.
Yeah, I accidentally solved this one.
I accidentally solved it.
It's good to know that these blue things don't kill me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I think also like this kind of very simple approach to this.
Of course, that's the control. No.
Is kind of good for educating purposes, like starting from the very basics and getting some ideas here of the topic and taking very small steps, because it's a huge thing to learn all the quantum computing stuff at once. So
yeah, I think that this team should have this is going to be a wrong way again, but still should have the extra sticker for having so many levels, I guess. 39
levels.
Yeah, this and also tutorial, which is like it's not typical for a jam game to have a great tutorial.
And I think the developers are currently in our Twitch chat. So if you guys are watching this on live, and then if you have any questions about how to solve this puzzle, maybe you can.
Now is it just
quickly
the glitch again?
Yeah.
That's like James. You were saying that this could be tunneling.
Yeah, that's what I've decided it is.
Yeah, it's tunneling.
Yeah, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
It is a feature.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, I forgot that I'm live streaming now.
It's like we're all watching you to try to solve it. It's like, hey, how does that work?
I didn't reach this level today. I have to play it and later on. With a limited amount of time, and my brain was not functioning that quickly to solve the puzzle today. So I'm looking at James solving the puzzle for us on a live Twitch.
No, I've got it. No,
you
maybe
got it.
Maybe. Yes.
Okay.
Maybe.
There we go.
Okay.
No.
So, well, basically, that needs to be moved there. So I have to unlock that first.
Yeah.
Now, if I move that there, and I move this one, they'll become entangled. Maybe they won't. Oh, no, because I moved it off.
Spot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I'm near enough.
Okay, let's try to get it. Yeah.
Are there other games?
No. Yes. And
so one thing I wonder is now how do I get that? Does the entanglement cause this one not to move anymore?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
it does. So now
But is there any help from
Well, they're always going to start off in different places.
You have to get all of these to. How do you even do that? To be honest, because
you should not entangle them. Entangling them is actually a trap.
Yes, of course. So I just have to avoid doing that. Okay. Now we've got it. We have to avoid any quantum errors. That one has to go there. Let's unlock that door.
Trap.
Let's not fall into the... Well, actually, in the last level, there was also an entanglement trap, but I failed to learn the lesson.
What is even comba in English? But it's like a... What is comba? Ville, do you know what is comba in English?
What? Combine?
That was
like
easy.
Comba kysymys.
Trick question.
Yeah, trick question, yeah. So you think that you should do it, but then you know.
There we go.
Yeah, on the chat, actually, the developer sort of mentioned that he or she was thinking that some part of quantum tunneling could be a mechanic, maybe in an update or sequel. So could be.
Yeah.
Just
He or she
full
has the
screen.
ambition. They have the ambition on this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So, I think that's...
All right. Yes.
Yeah, there's also a chat comment that I was thinking that some sort of quantum tunneling could be a mechanic.
Yeah, so
maybe in an update.
That's what Solid was saying. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they have the ambition.
Yeah, X-Guy saying that one improvement that would make it feel more snappy would be to allow input while animation is already going on, so you could tap as fast as you want.
Okay. Yeah, so the fact that you have to tap for each move is... well, it took me a while to realize that that's why I wasn't moving.
Yeah.
But it's kind of part of this sort of soccer band game is that it quantizes. There's quant. It quantizes your movement, so it's even more quantum, man.
Yeah. It's a push of a button, I guess, not like a movement. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll get that off because I'll just keep playing it.
Yeah, it's very addictive, so it's very finalized.
Addictive in a good way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it also feels very kind of the graphics feel like there is the similar effect that what we have in our stickers.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next one then.
Yeah, so then we've got Lemmings Condensate, we've got Quantum something guide, and we've got Don't Let Them Touch Your Qubits. So these two I can't play. So when I'm screen sharing, there's no need to do.
We can have video.
Those ones.
Ville or Solip, you could share the video if we.
Yeah, but then I was wondering if that means that while I'm still screen sharing, we can go to.
Oh yeah,
your
we can
one,
do that.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be completely awkward.
Yeah.
So the graphics of this will come as no surprise.
Yeah.
Because they're quite similar from the ones before. So yeah, I was wondering when I was playing this earlier what the pluses and the squiggles were, but now I see these microwave things and Josephson junctions because that's the shape of a qubit basically.
Yeah, and then there's no reason why they change every now and then, but I guess I could find a reason. But I took like maybe 4 hours of development of this game.
Yeah.
So the idea is to protect the people the villas should be protecting the hand. Is that correct?
Yeah, like don't let them touch your qubits.
Yeah.
And then you have to kind of be able to bounce around with as many qubits as possible. So this is like trying to tell the player that it's difficult to have many qubits at the same time.
So the qubits are so now I understand that from the earlier game that these are the qubit designs. So the qubits are what's up, and then the hands are the evil forces of quantum errors. We have to stand in protection.
Well, that's good. I have to use that in the narrative of the game. I was just thinking that there's someone touching the qubits.
Yeah. So when I was first playing it, I was wondering if the bouncing things were the forces of evil. In that case, it kind of feels like you're being bombarded by all of this.
They're your friends.
Noise.
They help you to kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you have kind of figured it out, but they last forever there. So you could wait for the friends to come. And so you would have well, actually, I think that only the green ones get destroyed. And then well, anyway, it's not very well thought. But you could play around with kind of letting the bonus guys to jump around the orange ones, and then you get better results because you would always have 2. I don't know if it makes sense to you guys.
Okay.
But yeah, so I guess if there would be like a global leaderboard, we could see who gets the most qubits. And
juggling qubits is it does have a bit of the feeling of quantum error correction. So
metaphoric.
yeah, it gives a metaphor of noise. This is why it's hard. Well, qubits aren't just sitting there waiting to accept your orders. You have to juggle them a bit.
I wonder if you've been trying this, how many qubits are you able to juggle?
I'm too busy juggling to look at
the
how many I've got. Yeah.
I think the 6 is the most you've got so far.
Yeah. What have you managed to get in your own playtesting?
I think 6 also. So I wonder, like where does
entertaining to watch.
Yeah, where does the limit at the moment kind of after which amount of qubits it gets like radically more unreliable? In the actual computers, James.
In the actual computers, then well, it depends on your connectivity. So we always try to scale them in a way that doesn't make things ever more unreliable. So ideally, it doesn't matter how many qubits you've got; they're all as unreliable.
Okay.
So it should scale linearly with the number of qubits, I suppose, is what I would be saying if I was being technical. But there are problems in scalability. So it could be that with this particular architecture of quantum computation, 6 qubits is where you start running into terrible problems with frequency crowding. Well, it does feel very so that's why that's a hard limit on the high score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so it's also to show that you can make this kind of a very light-hearted game out of the quantum-inspired things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have 3 left. So I don't know if we want to show videos. 2 left. If we want to show videos, is there some other way to show videos that's better than me playing them?
Yeah, Solip, can you share the screen then with the video? So if James, you can share.
Okay. Let's start doing that. So let's start with quantum something Gaiden.
And I guess this was like, Solip, your favorite.
Because, it's simple enough, the shooting game. I mean, it's quite obvious, I guess. I like the ending screen, actually, because it's kind of related to how I feel about when I hear about quantum physics. The ending screen was, there's a text there that, well, people can figure that out once you get into this game.
This was created by Sebastian Laitila, and I think that he was using also Nora's graphics package that is available for our course, but also later for anybody. So the fancy cat that you see in the screen can be in your game as well.
So it's a very straightforward Gaiden-style shooting games with the assets from Nora available for this quantum game course. Not sure it's actually related to the logic or science of quantum physics and mechanics, but more of a visual representations of quantum computers being used.
This is very retro.
Yeah.
So James and Marcel, what do you think of it?
Well, it looks great as a game, and one thing I noticed is as you're going up, you've got the dilution refrigerator in the background, which is what is used to cool the qubits. So back in the before times when there were in-person events, we would take around dilution refrigerators to conferences and stuff to show off. Yeah. And this feels like the COVID era replacement that we can, because it's very much being shown off. It's like in sci-fi movies where you have the pan around the ship, around the Enterprise or something, and it's doing that for a dilution fridge.
Yeah, there's like a huge ship on below of the tiny ship.
Yeah.
Mothership. The fridge.
obviously this is a gameplay video recorded by the developers. Obviously this is going way better than how I played a few hours ago.
Yeah. I'm particularly bad at this genre.
And also, I think bullet hell is a great metaphor for quantum error correction. This is exactly what it's like to be a qubit.
So there would be the errors now.
Yeah.
Marcel, how do you feel like? Is there some interesting quantum levels of this you would like to mention?
I really, as James, likes background and how that feels. I think some quantum mechanics could be included, or just some quantum interpretations. But the way this also works, because it has these typical tropes like the cat for quantum, and so that works. So. And yeah, maybe as James said, these bullets could be better as quantum errors, and then maybe
it might be a bit difficult for us to hear. If Solid, you can get the volume down a bit.
Okay,
thank you. Yes, but yeah, cat is there because we provided the cat.
Yes.
So Nora's package has the cats.
Oh.
What did you say? You died, but that's not a big deal because bullet hell games are hard. Oh.
Yeah. And it's not shown on this video, but then when I actually played the game and died in a very early stage of the game, it had this different type of text that says, you die, no worries, that's how I also feel when hearing about what's happening on the quantum physics.
Yeah.
You know, so such a kind of text that kind of comfort me as well when I try to understand the quantum physics, but then the text was literally telling me like, you don't. Yeah. Let's play games. And that was really sarcastically fun. The developer, it seems like he or she is currently on our chat, and the video wasn't actually recorded in the final version, she says here. So this cat in the center should kind of hover around the center area, while in this video it was on the side. So it was very difficult to aim anything. But yeah, that has been tweaked, has been moderated. That's good to know. And it's a very playable game.
It's also nice from Aare to say that I have tendency to put encouraging, let me check, I can't read it. Encouraging end screen. So that's a good thing to do in games, I guess. So let's learn from Sebastian how to do nice games with encouraging ending.
That's what
having
I
like this
about it.
very hard game, you could have some material to teach in the ending screen when players are dying so often.
Yeah, that's true.
They get to repeatedly read it.
Yeah. So maybe that could be one part of the more quantum stuff. It's like, oh, you died, but think about this, how qubits can be entangled in the actual quantum computing.
Yeah, if you want to be educated less, you're going to have to level up in your gameplay.
All right, it looks cool, and it has been using the graphics package, so it's super nice.
Thank you very much for whoever making this game, as well as the assets here. Cool. Yeah. Okay, so shall I try to... Oh, go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah. Something that I also been thinking already before when making some educational games, that it's not always maybe the best approach to do things correctly when you are trying to teach something. Maybe doing, or at least allowing players to do things wrong, but maybe interpreting something wrong because that spurs discussion and why is it this way and how it should go and so on. I think that is like a typical approach in educational games, that everything is tried to do very correctly and simulating something correct way of doing things, but I'm not sure is that the best approach.
I think that sometimes when something is like, for instance, opposite than what is the actual thing. It can have like great classroom discussion as a reflection to the gameplay.
Yeah, but I think this tendency of doing educational games like this might come from the fact that they're often done by the topic experts who, of course, feel the need to tell it a certain way, and maybe there's it's a whole another discussion, but still interesting, and that is one thing why I think that like games could teach in various ways about
Also, like James said about the card game, that if there's a very knowledgeable person to assist in storytelling, it can be also very important for the expert, kind of a game master, to let the players to also take some privileges in interpreting things, so that they kind of the reflection talk after the gameplay would be interesting, and looking at what were represented correctly and what were not, because not always the reality is like exciting in terms of the gameplay or fiction.
And
James and Marcel is like looking at like, no, don't do that. Don't you ever do that.
It depends on your audience and what you're trying to convey. If you're trying to teach someone to program a quantum computer, then they're not going to benefit a lot from having just vague ideas. But if you're trying to undo all of the Hollywood propaganda about quantum, then you can have a more flexible approach.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, let's move to the other one that we can look at the video.
Okay, so here's the next one. Can you guys see it properly?
Yep.
Zoom in a little bit.
Makes context.
Okay, let's start playing this.
This Lemmings. That's important in the name. Lemmings. I don't know how to pronounce with the Q. So this project, let me look at. So it was created by Laura. Where is the... Was there also no audio for this?
I don't hear any audios, at least in this video. Oops.
So also maybe not all the information is there. But created by... posted by a handle called LJPIIS, so I know that it's called Laura.
The use of the quantum black box is a little bit of a giveaway as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually able to play the game. Maybe it wasn't working properly in my computer, so the game was crashing a bit, and after a while, like still the button wasn't working. So, at least in this demo video, it works. Maybe it was the submitted files that wasn't working properly.
I'm making the same error. You need to install a Python package first, so the game actually works. And I made the same error as you, and then it also crashed, and I was a bit surprised.
Yeah, the creators actually did made a link of where we can update the Pythons. Yes, I didn't actually do that just yet. Okay,
James, does this remind you of something?
Well, it reminds me of both the Einstein condensate, I think. So this is a game which uses a simulation of a quantum process, which is... When you use simulations of quantum processes, when you're trying to use these aspects of quantum in a game, sometimes that comes at the cost of having slightly more complicated installation, as we've already discussed. But this is the quantum black box tool that was developed to be able to give some people an easy way of incorporating a quantum mechanical effect into a game. Not by us at IBM, but it's a Finnish project.
University of Turku, yes.
Yeah. So Yeah, so this is something that was used a few times also in the Quantum Wheel Game Jam a few years ago. And from the comments that Laura writes on the submission, it sounds like it's something that she maybe had even in her mind for that game jam. So yeah, there's a few examples. I think did we use one of them in the? I don't think we did one of them last week, but I mentioned Hamster Wave at least.
Yep, and Laura was in the Hamster Wave project, so it reminds me of this. So
yes, Turku Quantum Technology Research Group.
Yes, so that's the kind of origin from the Black Box project. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is sort of manipulating a wave function and using it in this case to transport lemmings from the entrance to the exit. I couldn't even remember, basic English terminology there in my own language.
It is your mother tongue, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very retro aesthetic for us who love lemmings. It's very nice and cuddly. And then it gets super kind of what's the right word? Acidy, I guess.
Yeah.
Entertaining to watch.
It's very much entertaining.
Well, in lemmings, you always have to choose which tool it is, and you have to manage all of the lemmings doing different things. So maybe if for anyone who thinks that is too complicated, then just do this simple version, which means you manipulate a quantum wave function. What could be easier than that?
Oh no, don't you? But yeah, it's been interesting also when we had the hamster wave in it has hands instead of this kind of exit and the door.
Yeah.
So it was used with the gamepad, and the audience was in an exhibition that we showed the hamster wave, and it was pretty addictive to the players, even though they wouldn't understand the actual kind of a thing on the background. So Black Box project was to make something that the players would be able to play and try to find a solution in different ways without understanding the physics behind it, so that they would kind of crowdsource the results of the puzzle. So citizen science project in a way. So I think this taps on that area. All right.
Yeah, so it has similarities to the Quantum Moves game, the citizen science project that came out of Aalto? No, you're Aalto. All of these places in Scandinavia that begin with double A. Aarhus.
Yeah,
in Denmark.
Is it actually with two A's as well? Or is it just the one A? But you pronounce
I think it's two.
Okay, all right.
It's two.
Okay, so there is a comment actually also from Twitch. The developer says, I was hoping to make a WebGL version as we have QBB on a server it could connect to. So no need to download the Python packages, etc. So potential for upgrades, modification in the future.
Yeah, it's a bit of a kind of a threshold for the players of jam games to go and download something and test them out. But these kind of things, I think that these kind of projects that you have to download and do a lot of tweaking could be best for exhibition use, for instance, so that everything is already there for people to start playing.
But then again, you can try out and want to try out things in game jams sometimes, so that's why the videos are very important.
Yeah, that's very important.
This is also the case where video comes into place in a very good use.
Yeah.
I think it's the motivation for people when they making a game often that they want to be able to share it. They want to have other people do the experience. And so if they have to give installation instructions that begin with open a terminal and type in this, then it's a bit of, so we're trying to avoid this as well in the tools that we make, and obviously the people who make Quantum Black Box are doing the same.
But I also think that jams are great places to do a project that you don't necessarily think about the end user. So you just test around with things and toy with, play around with the tools and ideas. And then you can show it with a video like this, so that, for instance, projects that would have custom-made electronics, you can have the instructions how to make the controller that you have on your jam game. But it's quite typical that people wouldn't do that, but you can still have a video to show what you did. It's very important. I think we covered all the games.
Yes,
and where did this game fall into in terms of the categories? This is also the
it allows people to get their hands on a quantum processor. It's very much showing off what goes on inside quantum processors. And in terms of if I think of things purely in terms of quantum computing, it's certainly not hardware. Does it really count as software? Because it doesn't fall within the paradigm of quantum computing, but it is simulating a quantum process. So I think it does belong in the idea of you're using sort of quantum software, but it's a quantum processor that is outside of the paradigm of quantum computing.
Cool. Yeah. Good. Did we cover all the other games as well in terms of like where do they fit in the categories?
So maybe the last one is one we didn't. So the Gaiden game, which is
inspired.
So it's quantum inspired, and in terms of its implementation, and in terms of the other thing. So I can say that I think it's pointing out limitations. One thing it's pointing out is limitations in people's ability to understand quantum. Or people feel that this is something that is hard for them, and so it even has that as part of the messaging in the text that you see. But also, I think bullet hell is something that reminds me very much of quantum error correction. So you could easily add a bit of a quantum error correction angle into there as well.
Yeah.
Even if it's not explicitly quantum error correction, it helps people understand that not everything is going completely perfectly in the lives of our qubits.
Yeah. And I think like game design process is actually a good way of learning these kind of things when you need to figure out how to do something. And having
so for Aare, there is now a suggestion of like maybe learned one more thing when James was interpreting the game from the quantum computing perspective a bit more, so Aare can then add it to the game. But good way to learn itself. Yeah.
I'm also quite excited that also overall in the chat we see interactions coming from the actual developers of these games, and they're also excited about their games being shown and also how this jam experience went for them. So
I would be much more excited if I would not be myself on the screen when people can read my expressions as well. But so that was the 8 games that our jam produced, and maybe James, you can now update your list of quantum games to include these as well. At least some of them that are a bit more on the less kind of a crazy side than what I had, I guess. But there's now more published, definitely. And more will come in the future, I'm sure.
According to Twitter, it's Quantum Day today. I don't know what this means, but this is a good set of 8 Quantum Day presents.
Oh, Quantum Day! I have to
just now. Yeah, me too.
Quantum Day.
Me too. I don't know why it's Quantum Day, but
World Quantum Day. There we go. Yeah, we have to well, it was obviously meant to be. We designed it this way.
Yes, of course. So
Never came to my mind even to Google when would be the Quantum Day so that we can date this perfectly. But it is Quantum Day.
Ooh.
From 65 countries, there is a quantum scientist that, has the day for quantum.
Yeah, Google Quantum Day, and then apparently it's today. Oh, what a surprise.
Happy Quantum Day, everybody. Thanks for submitting your games, and congratulations. You're going to get an awesome Quantum Day gift for you later in the mail as well. Congratulations of finishing your projects and submitting in time. Any favorites from you guys?
Favorite game?
Favorite game from the
Well, from how much I played Ryoshiban, I think you can see that was a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
And the Quantum Cube, it was just, yeah, so those two, that was just so polished, and also the Quantum Cube, I liked it because it used Micro Qiskit, which is my thing. Similarly, Quite Blur used Quantum Blur, which is also my thing. So I have multiple favorites, I think.
Yeah. And Solib, you already said about your favorite of the games, I guess.
Gaiden.
Also
kind of coming from my personal bias in this specific genre. So, and like, I don't know, I'm coming from a very biased opinion, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also amazing assets in the behind of like kind of like give me this feeling of traveling inside the quantum computer.
Yeah, the way that it moves, the mothership.
Mm.
Yeah. Ville, do you have a favorite? Your own?
No. I actually really liked also the one where you pushed stuff. What was it?
It was called Ryoshiban.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Marcel, do you have favorites?
I really liked Ryoshiban because it reminded me on the Super Nintendo games. There were so many role-playing games which included small puzzles, cube pushing ones, and often you need the solution handbook to actually solve them because they were so hard. And I always liked these kind of parts that reminded me. And as James said, I really liked there that I was at the beginning thinking it's only like a normal game, and then suddenly there was a quantum mechanic.
Yeah.
But I
so
also
it's like almost like sneaks in the quantum stuff once you're already in the game, so it comes like afterwards. I think that my personal favorite is Quantum Heist. I want to test it out. How is the storytelling there? I would like to play more storytelling card games. I haven't had enough of that experience, so that kind of sparked my interest. And obviously Quantum Cube is just so portalish and so cube-ish that those are like two of my favorites. So those are obviously ticking my boxes. But I'm quite surprised that this many polished games and kind of games, almost all of them are something that we can kind of put on a store already and just ship it.
Yeah.
So there's so many polished ones and an interesting potential for them to become something more. I of course also like the Lemmings one because I do like Lemmings in general.
Yeah.
But overall, the legendary Lemmings.
Yeah.
But how do you feel? There was none of them used any quantum hardware, I guess.
Well, this is no surprise. If you look at over years now, there's been hackathons and game jams, and still the number of games that use actual quantum hardware can be counted on like one hand, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, and most of those are by me. So there are very few people in the world willing to take this challenge because it is a bit of a pain, to be honest. Yeah. And I remember Exka in the last jam made a game and then he decided to try it, or at least someone in that team decided to try it out on the real quantum computer, and they started to realize why that's hard.
Yeah.
So at least someone here has had history of doing that before. But yeah, it's difficult to do, and I'm not surprised that no one took on that particular challenge, especially during the...
But you're working hard to make it more approachable every year so that there will be more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we still would... I think I would still advise people, even if we put everything in the right as easy as possible, I'd still advise people to use the simulator, because I'd still advise people to try out only very simple quantum systems which can be easily simulated, and that just makes everything easy. But with better tools, I think we'll see more people taking up the challenge.
Yeah, I think that there's still like this conceptual barrier that it suffers from the image of, I guess, magic, and also like this high nerdy technology thing, so that it feels like that it's not something for me, I guess. But the more and more I learn from kind of quantum computers, it kind of starts to feel like, because you also have this visual coding tools and everything, so it starts to build on me, that even me as a non-programmer, I could take it somewhere and try it a little bit with very simple things, so that I could say hello world with quantum computing, I guess. So.
Yeah, for me, like it's not a long time I jumped into this quantum computer game stuff, and it's still a little bit vague, like what kind of examples there are, what kind of things you could do with quantum computers. And I think this is something that could maybe help if there was some kind of like
a listing of the games and examples helps in all the different like game design domains. So for instance, if you think about the early years of educational games, a lot of them were super crappy. But the more we go in the years, the more the games learn from the previous games, and they transfer the design knowledge from the previous pieces to the next ones. So gradually there is like better and better ones, and more kind of fitting to the topic, and like more design gambits, I guess, to make them more interesting and more polished. So yeah, that's gonna happen with the quantum computer games as well, that more examples are given, the more there will be other games that are inspired by these games. So if we think about how games are made in general, in the production process, there's a lot of references used. So it's a very everyday aspect of making, I think that any design, but game design particularly, what I know of, is that you use other games as references of discussing what goes into your new design. So I hope that James and Marcel, you are able to take some of these games and also show them around and inspire others to create new ones. That this is how you can do it. And maybe add your own ideas on top of it, like what would be the advancements of these ideas. So I guess thank you for the jammers, that we have more of these. Well,
thanks for all of these games, they were great.
There is a comment from Exka about I guess the defense of the project that was run in the wheel, the quantum wheel. It actually worked, but took some minutes to get results. I lost the help.
Well, yeah, that's my memory of it as well. It did. They did make
worst case,
They did get it running. It's just.
But it made the game unplayable.
It made the game unplayable, which is the.
So X-Guy is continuing
challenge.
that one of the biggest hardships with quantum gaming is that you can't. Quantum gaming is actually a good term. Is that you can't use it to create deterministic mechanics, as there's always a randomness to it. Is that true?
Some things like the quantum blur, it's a random process at the heart of what's going on, but you just take enough samples that you, with sufficient accuracy, determine the probabilities, and those probabilities are used as the brightnesses. So it does require this multiple sampling process in order to get deterministic results. Also, with a fault-tolerant quantum computer, and we're talking like a decade or so down the line here, the randomness in that case is a bug rather than a feature. You're using it to solve optimization problems, and you're not really caring about the quantum stuff behind it. So there are elements of deterministicness if you know where to look, but randomness is always something that is present and needs to be taken into account.
Or used, as you've said.
Or used, yeah. So treat it as a bug or a feature, but it's always going to be there.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, anyway, so thank you everybody for participating, and we will be asking the team's details to get your holographic stickers with the cryostat on it, and you can definitely say to the others that you've been inside a quantum computer one way or another, at least in your head.
And then let's see if this stream becomes a legendary one, as it's on the first World Quantum Day. And maybe it's at some point this is like a.
It's gonna be in a museum, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, 8 games was created, or 8 games were actually reflected on the Quantum Day. So that's going to be in the history books. We don't know what the future will bring, but I'm pretty happy what we've done here for this week of getting time for quantum gaming, like improving the field of quantum gaming, I guess this is what we could say. And if you're interested in seeing more quantum games, we have, I guess, on the 26th of May, we have another Twitch show on the Quantum Games Aalto F5 account. So not in this account, but on the other account. But you can see more information from quantumgames.aalto.fi about our course. And on the 26th of May, we have a new kind of a review or publication show of the games that the students on this course created. So some of the projects were created by the students of that course in this jam. So you might see further development of the projects on the 26th of May. And we will probably see either James or Marcel or both of them on that day as well. It's not going to be the Quantum Day /2 or like the second Quantum Day of the year, but we can kind of name it, I guess, for that. Yeah. So we'll be back and reviewing more games and talking about quantum computing, quantum gaming in that session.
And I also want to add up that for those who are in the Quantum Game course, this is Twitch that you're looking at the moment, and the video of this review show will be shared through Games Now, which is the open lecture series at Aalto University. We do open lecture every month, and we also host game jams like these during this COVID-19 time. We're fully online, and you can just hop on to our Twitch channel, this one, and also the YouTube channel of Games Now for more information. And of course,
we also have a Discord server if you're interested in our community.
Yes, and we're trying to boost the Discord community in the upcoming future, so stay tuned for that as well. And there's one question that came up on the Twitch chat. Where do we send our address for the stickers?
We will be asking them in the Discord channel of the jammers, so we will get back to you. I guess we are able to reach all of you, so don't worry. That's gonna be settled. Just don't post your address in the chat now, because that's not
yet.
A good
don't
idea.
Do that just now. Yeah.
All right. So thanking our guests today, and we'll be back. We continue making games for quantum, but also in the Games Now lecture series, we are looking at all sorts of different topics. So this channel will become live again next Monday, and we will be talking about actually streaming, which is
game streaming,
which is very fitting for a streaming channel. So that's one of the big trends nowadays that, well, it's very fitting for the COVID time when everything is online. But there is a lot of things happening in terms of the interactivity of the stream. So it's not just faces like this, but it's also more a participation than just chat. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I've said this maybe like 10 times already, but I'm very thankful on this beautiful Quantum Day. And thanks for the guys from IBM Research in Zurich. And I hope that you will have a lot of other hackathons and jams ahead that will have inspiring and interesting pieces to put on your list. So, thank you, everybody, and see you again.
Bye.
Bye.